Hello and welcome to the Leading Lounge. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Dubose. Here in the Leading Lounge, we talk with today's leaders and unpack lessons learned and being learned from a career of leading and communicating in their field. These conversations are designed to be both informal and informative, and we want to equip you with wisdom and tools to empower you as a leader where you are and where you want to be. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 37 of the Leading Lounge podcast. I'm so glad you could join me. So today we're bringing you another leadership tips and tools, and these are various tools and tips and things from a book that has been on. We've been following this along now. This is the second season we've done this. It's called the Leadership Challenge. You can find the link to the book in the show notes if you're listening on a podcast platform, or in the video description if you're watching us on YouTube. But today is a follow-up really to episode 35. So you may want to go back, if you're kind of just joining us, listen to episode 35, which was to create your clear, actionable vision in 5 steps. So in that one, we laid out 5 steps to follow sequentially to help you kind of create a clear, actionable vision. If you have some foggy idea of where you want to go, what you want to do, who you are in it, how do other people fit into this vision of yours, go back and watch episode 35 or listen to episode 35, and there's 5 steps there. And then for today's episode 37, we're going to look at 3 steps you can take to enlist support for your vision, right? So here are 3 concrete steps you can take to enlist support for your vision, and all of it centers around the art of communication. How do you communicate that vision? How do you take what's in there, lay it out in those 5 sequential steps, and then begin to share it and communicate it in a way that's authentic to you, that connects well with others, and that's compelling for them, and that's very clear for them. So I want to do something different than I've done before. I want to start with a speech, and it's Dr. Martin Luther King's speech, his famous I Have a Dream speech from August 28th, 1963. So he gave this speech in Washington, D.C. There were 250,000 people there on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and spilling out into the National Mall. And it's one of the more iconic speeches in American history. And I had originally considered, rather than playing it or showing it to you, was I'll just read the thing. But oh my gosh, what a terrible way to communicate that on this podcast episode that's supposed to be about how do you communicate well. So what I'm going to do, if you're listening, you'll just hear it, of course. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously, then you'll get to see it. But I'm just going to share my screen with you for those who are watching and play from YouTube the most famous portion of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Okay. And we're going to listen to it one time through. And then there's this chapter in the book, chapter 6 is where this episode comes from. They went and they asked people, hey, what did you think about that speech that Dr. Martin Luther King gave? And they used that to launch into, this is how you communicate your vision well. So listen to this, and then we'll look at it together.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. one day down in Alabama with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. Exalted. And every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with.
Man, what a great speech. So powerful. And there's so much to learn from it. Okay, now we're just going to look at it from a communication standpoint, not from the moment, the movement, the impact that had on those people, but just from the standpoint of how did this great man in this moment communicate his vision in a way that those people around him that heard it were going, yes, I'm all in. I'm all in. So again, the book is a leadership challenge. If you're following along, chapter 6, this is page 126 of the 6th edition. They asked thousands of people over the years to listen to the speech. You just heard a portion of it. We just looked at a portion of it. But they asked them to listen to the whole speech, tell them what they heard, how they felt, and why they thought that speech remains so moving even today. And here's the answers that they got. He appealed to common interests. He talked about traditional values of family, church, and country. He used a lot of images and word pictures that the audience could relate to. They were familiar. He mentioned things everyone could relate to, like family and children. His references were credible. It's hard to argue against the Constitution or the Bible. It was personal. He mentioned his own children as well as struggling. He included everybody, different parts of the country, all ages, both sexes, and major religions. He used a lot of repetition. For example, saying, I have a dream, and let freedom ring several times. He talked about the same ideas many times, but in different ways. He was positive and hopeful. Although positive, he didn't promise it would be easy. He shifted his focus from I to we. He spoke with emotion and passion. It was something he genuinely felt, right? So that speech itself is incredibly powerful. But if you look at it from the standpoint of here's a leader communicating his vision to other people and enlisting their support. It was a wonderfully crafted speech, very well executed, and it's no different. Now, again, remove the setting and that particular movement and those things. It's no different from what any leader does when they're trying to communicate to people, this is the vision I have for where we're going. This is the vision I have for how we come together in this, how we all fit together in it. And it can be challenging to communicate. It can be a little overwhelming to think about. I meet with leaders regularly who they're preparing for a process in which they've got to sit before a group of people and say, here's who I am. Here's what I want. Here's kind of my dream. Here's my vision. How does this fit together? And they're trying to communicate about themselves and who they are and who what their passion is and how they fit into kind of this bigger picture. So it's something that we all have to do as leaders. So what I want to do is I want to give you 3 tips for better storytelling, right? Because what Dr. King did there was he told a story, right? He had this vision, he had this dream, and he shared with his people, this is my vision, right? This is the story I want you to hear. The story about what the future looks like when we're in this together. And in sharing that vision or sharing that story of the future, that was so powerful and so well crafted that people go, yes, I'm in. I'm all in. I'm with you. Let's do this together. So here's 3 tips or 3 steps for better storytelling. And this is not just, sharing any story. This is when you go, I've looked at the kind of the 5 steps to put my vision together. I've got it now. I want to share that with other people. Here's the first step, right? Know what you really want to say. There's so many things you could say, but know what you really want to say. And then practice it. Practice saying it with personal conviction. Know what you really want to say and practice saying it with personal conviction. The idea of getting reps in, right? Really thinking through what is it that I really want to say, because there's an infinite number of things that you could say, right? But there's a very narrow path of what I really, really want to say. And this is, again, where a coach can come in handy, is to say, look, I'm hearing all these different things, but what I think you really want to say is this. Is that right? Yeah, I think that's it. So you figure out what it is that you really want to say. Again, of the infinite number of things. And sometimes that first step is the hardest part, because, again, it's what gets left. As someone told me one time, it's what gets left out that's the hardest part, right? Because there's so many good things that you have to leave out. But figuring out what you really want to say in the time and in the moment that you have, go through the repetitions to practice saying it, and don't just regurgitate it as like an automaton, like this robot. Say it with personal conviction. People can tell, they can sense if you really believe what you're saying or not. I was just with a leader a few days ago, and they were talking about the difference in sitting down with someone who basically just kind of gives you a resume almost. First, I did this, then I did that. After that, I did these things. And then now I'm sitting here with you today, right? They said you can tell the difference in someone who basically is kind of reading you a resume versus someone who goes, listen, I love this. I'm passionate about this. I really believe this. This is where I want to go. This is how I see, the future. Don't leave out personal conviction. Sometimes that vulnerability aspect can be tough, but don't leave it out. That's the most important part of what you have to say, is the personal conviction. And again, people can tell, they can sense if you really believe what you're saying. So speak genuinely and speak with emotion. Don't leave out emotion. Some people are afraid of having emotions in what they say because they think it'll distort the message. Dr. King, you could feel the emotion in the speech. You could sense that he had lived it. You could sense that he believed it with every fiber of his being. So be genuine and speak with emotion. If you're passionate about something, let the passion show, right? If you feel it, let other people experience those feelings as you're talking about it. So that's the first step. Know what you really want to say. Practice saying it with personal conviction. Be genuine as you're sharing it, and speak with emotion. Don't be afraid of letting the passion come out, because that's what's going to connect well with others. And they can go, man, they really believe this. They really believe it. So that's the first step to better storytelling that'll enlist support for your vision, right? So know what you really want to say. Practice saying it with personal conviction. Second step is this. Create and articulate a place for others to fit meaningfully within that vision, right? Create and articulate a place for others to fit meaningfully. It's easier to talk about yourself and what you see the future as being, right? But you're not a one-man show, one-woman show. You're wanting to bring others along and say, I want us to do this together. You're as much a part of this as I am. You're as necessary to this outcome as I am, and to this journey. Let's go together. So create and articulate a place for others to fit meaningfully. When Dr. King was speaking, and we only saw a little snapshot of the speech, other people saw, this place, this family, this future. Like they saw it, and they saw how they fit, and how their families were impacted by this journey that they were on together. So talk to other people, right? You gotta do your field research, right? Like, where do other people fit? What gifts do they have? How do they come alongside and you guys fit together like hand in glove? And then ask these kind of questions of other people. What are their common passions and drivers? What are they passionate about? What fires them up? They got to hear about your passion. Now, what are they passionate about? How do they fit in with this thing? Where are we going in this together? Because you can only play one role. They can play one role, but you bring all these parts together and you have this beautiful orchestra or this beautiful symphony that's now making the future a reality. What once was only a vision now begins to be the real and present reality for all of us. So that's going to be something you have to think through, right? Because it's not just about you, it's about them. So again, this is where a coach could really come in handy, is to help you kind of create this place for others. What are these places for others? How do we fit together? How do we articulate that? How do we say that in such a way that's compelling and that's clear? So second step is create and articulate a place for others to fit meaningfully within your vision. Now, the third part is where all of this comes together, right? The first two are storytelling, and the third, now you be ready to give them ownership of the vision. You've made them a part of it. You guys have created this thing together, and now you have to turn it over to them. You got to say, look, this is yours and mine. It's as much yours as it is mine. We're 50-50 in this. So give them ownership of the vision. What can they do when you were back at step 2 and you were creating and articulating a place where they fit? What is that place like? What do they do in the vision? And then let them do that, right? Let them own that part of the vision, and you own your part of the vision, and ask yourself this question of how can you empower them? How can you support them in what they're doing, right? You don't want to own their part of the vision. You want them to take ownership of it. And so the most helpful thing as a leader you can do by the time you get to step 3 is just, how can I empower you? How can I support you in what you're doing? The very best leaders that I work with, and the very best leaders that I know and that I've worked with, as you know, on the receiving end of the coaching also, are people who go, look, you got it. Now, how can I help you? You tell me how I can help you. I've had leaders even build in regular, like, let's just meet and you tell me how I can support you. How can I empower you? How can I make you even better at what you're doing? So one of the places people falter is they think through the vision. They may even articulate it and they kind of have a plan together. But when it comes time to let other people take ownership of the vision, that's when they start to retract. They start to withdraw a little bit, because to release control to others, shared control to others, is a little frightening. But it's the only way that vision comes to reality, comes to fruition. It's not just you. It's now we have done this together. We've accomplished this together. And it's so much more than I ever foresaw. So much more than I could have ever done on my own. If you think again to Dr. King's speech, like he was one man leading this nationwide movement in the civil rights movement. But all these people, right, they owned it. They saw it as theirs. This is our mission. This is our vision for the future. Now let's together make this a reality. And the more momentum that movement got, the more the figurehead, the lead guy, Dr. King, stepped back and said, y'all got it. Like I've got it started, but y'all have got it. You take it from here. And the movement continued well beyond his own lifetime. Still continues today. So whatever your vision is, whatever field you're in, and you're kind of trying to think through the future, a coach can be extremely helpful. I will always advocate for someone to come along and help you. But think about those 3 things. What do you really want to say? Practice saying it. Say it with personal conviction. Be genuine. Make sure your emotions are wrapped up in this vision of the future that you got. Create and articulate a place for others to fit meaningfully, and then give them ownership of the vision and let them run with it. And you're going to find that vision that you had evolves and it grows over time, and it becomes something so much bigger and so much more glorious than you could have ever imagined, or certainly accomplished on your own. So hope that was helpful for you. If you need help, want help, know of someone that needs help, because again, I believe that every leader has this kind of God-given vision of where they want to go, and they just need some help, right? So please reach out to us, reach out to me through Communicate to Care. More than happy to help. It's my life's passion. I hope you can see my own emotions and personal conviction come through if you've been listening or watching to this podcast. That I really believe this. I'm really passionate about it, and I love, love, love helping people. So God bless you in the work that you do. It's important. It's life-changing, And if I can help you in any step of the way, don't hesitate to reach out. My booking link for Calendly for a free consultation will be in the show notes or in the description, as well as our website and my email. So reach out anytime. But God bless you in the work that you do, and we'll see you for episode 38.